Hey, assalamu alaikum. Gungiri online. Ngal nina view ngal be konto.
Yeah, hi Dave, how are you?
Yes, so I'm just checking if anybody is in there. Yes, Mr. Manja, I'm okay. Thank you very much.
Dr. Lam.
Yes, yes. Good evening. Assalamu alaikum to all our viewers. This is okay. Dr. Conteh is here.
Yeah.
Okay. Unfortunately, due to the rains, due to the what's it called? I think the rainy season in the Gambia, Ousman is struggling to get internet connection. He's trying really hard, so he might be late, but he's going to try his best to join us anyway. So I told him that I mean, he's trying. He's trying. We'll see what happens anyway. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you clearly. Yeah.
Okay. Dr. Conteh, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to basically, I was just informing yourself and Mr. Manja that our guest for today, Dr. Gagigo, unfortunately, because he's in the Gambia right now, he's struggling to get a network connection. It's very, very poor network connection, but he is trying. He promised to keep trying. So hopefully he will be able to join us later.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dave. I think I can just proceed to give the daily updates. Then we can continue. Since it's about the economy, I think Dr. Conteh will be the main man before our main guest comes along. So viewers of Gunjur TV Online, as you know, we are right in the middle of pandemic. It was a slow start arriving in the Gambia, but now, unfortunately, we are right in the midst. And the unfortunate thing about the Gambia, with all the time we have our politicians, our lawmakers, our policy makers have in their hand, they still cut pants down. They are ill prepared, and the population is poorly sensitized. There's still large number of Gambians who think this is funny, is a hoax, and some people are playing politics with it, which is very, very sad. So what I'm going to do, I'll just give you the update as usual, where we are as far as COVID-19 is concerned. So far, we have like 21,924,480 people infected or got infected with COVID-19. And out of that, 774,951 dead. The number of people who got COVID-19 and recovered stands at 14,646,086 people. And currently, the number of people working or inactive, actively infected with COVID-19 stand at 6,503,444. And 99% of those with active infection, that is 6,439,224, are in mild conditions, and 64,221 are critically ill with COVID-19. So countries that are very close to the Gambia, unfortunately, I didn't get their 24, most of them, their 24 hours numbers are not yet in. So I'm going to read to you the numbers they recorded past 48 hours, Senegal excluded. Senegal, I'll give you the 24 hours record. So far, Ivory Coast recorded 17,026 people got infected, and past 48 hours, they recorded 137 new cases. Senegal so far recorded 12,237 cases, and past 24 hours, they recorded 75 new cases. Mauritania, Guinea-Conakry so far recorded 8,482,000, and past 48 hours, they recorded 284 cases. Mali so far recorded 2,640 cases, and past 48 hours, they recorded 43 new cases. Guinea-Bissau so far recorded 2,177, plus 29 past 24 hours. And Sierra Leone so far recorded 1,956 cases, and past 48 hours they recorded 9. And Gambia so far recorded 1,872 cases, and past 48 hours, or I will say not 48 hours, maybe between the 12th and on the 14th. So we are 3 days behind, but I know it's far even longer than that. It might be a week. Gambia recorded 249 new cases. Burkina Faso so far 1,267, and so far they recorded 39. So Dave, you can take over. And Dave is gone.
No, 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 I'm here. Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, thank you so much for those grim statistics, Mr. Vanja. And as I was saying earlier on, unfortunately, our guest today, who is an economist, is not here. And his talk obviously was going to be the effect of coronavirus on the Gambia's economy. I mean, as we all know, Gambia is not alone in this. Um, it's just interesting though, when you come up with the statistics in the sub-region, Liberia seems to be missing. I don't know if there's a reason for this, because I read somewhere that because of the Ebola virus they had, the Ebola outbreak they had a few years back, it kind of gave them like, they were prepared for something like COVID-19. Not that they knew COVID-19 was going to come, but because of the uh, because of the outbreak of Ebola, it just seems to have given them the preparation that they needed. I don't know how true this is. I mean, I don't know what you've been hearing from from the medical profession in relation to Liberia and even Guinea Conakry.
Yeah, Guinea Conakry, around that, among the three, the most severely affected is Guinea Conakry. But very quickly, the numbers went up. They went to the polls, to vote for that old man to go for another 12 years, if
Yeah.
possible.
Yes.
That really, really put a lot of pressure. Their numbers went up very, very quickly, drastically, but after they put it under control. And Sierra Leone also, the numbers went up quickly, but now they are really under control. So they seem to have that knowledge really, really helped them. I'm not sure why Liberia. Yes, Liberia, their numbers are 1,257, and so far they have 82 deaths. Have not been actually reporting, but their numbers are very slow to come up. So they recorded 1,257. It doesn't. It seems like they actually are doing okay. They're not like affected as Conakry. Conakry, which I attributed to that referendum they went to. That broke all the system they put in place. But after their numbers are definitely under controls. past few weeks and days. Yeah,
Yes.
it's Africa, but if that was not Africa, in fact, Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea should be helping the rest of the world how to manage pandemic. But once these people move, they even probably will start selling, the infrastructure they leave it. They will probably start, you know, destroying them anyway. That's the situation. We cannot sustain anything. But if that was in Europe or any other part of the world, they will be leaders, in advising the rest of the world. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for that clarification. Yeah, I just thought it's important we highlight this because for once, there are some countries in Africa. You could say it's unfortunate. It was unfortunate. Ebola was unfortunate, but it put them on a sounder footing
Mm,
relatively. And as you observed with Jenny was doing very well, and
mm,
until Mr. Conde decided that he wanted to stay
mm,
in power again. So obviously, this forced lots of people to go on the streets, and then I know a lot of people lost their lives over it. And then so all the checks and balances they had in place when it comes to like outbreaks of pandemics, and it all went out of the window, unfortunately. So which always goes back to this perennial problem we have in Africa of poor leadership, very, very poor leadership. Because otherwise, you would not have had that. I mean, Gino would have been okay. I mean, the numbers in Liberia, like I said, they're relatively low, and that, like you said, I mean, they could be doing better. They could actually
mm,
be, the bulwark. They could be the what's it called, the forefront of fighting this pandemic in the whole of Africa. But we
mm,
always go back to this perennial problem of poor governance, poor leadership, a lack of
mm,
structures, a lack of
mm,
forward thinking. So I think it's been very detrimental for Africans. And this is some of the reasons why we are here having these conversations, not
mm,
because we are here to castigate the government back at home or to point fingers, but just maybe it will be, when we criticize them, will be positive criticism. It will be also something they can fall back and say, okay, these people have mentioned something here which we probably haven't thought about, or maybe they have. But it's good to reinforce, even to reinforce, to say somebody out there, like, I mean, I'm doing public commentary. But if we see somebody like yourself, or from the medical profession, or the last time when we had Ebrima Suwaneh from the medical profession, I mean, what you guys are talking about is first-hand knowledge of what has been happening here. And the same goes for a lot of other Gambians. And lot of other Gambians are all in social media and other places, and all trying to do their quota towards our national development. But we can never get away from the fact that the Gambia had a chance. We had some time to be prepared, and then we didn't. We not prepared. So I mean, there's no way. We just have to admit that that's the case. But I mean, that's rather here nor there. I mean, right now, what Gambia needs to do, just like any other country, whether it's industrialized countries or relatively poor countries like the Gambia, you just got to pull your resources together. For places like the Gambia, where you can say some of their brightest and their smartest live outside of the country, they need to pull on those resources. Need to call on them and try to marshal enough goodwill as well, and to try marshal goodwill and try and even evoke people's sense of patriotism when it comes to developing and helping our country. Yes, I think those are very important. Like I said, today was meant to be the chat was meant to be centered on the effect of the coronavirus on the Gambia, and then obviously every country, whether it's in the Gambia or it's the industrial West, whether it's the US or here or Japan, every country's economy is getting proper hammered. So the Gambia is not going to be spared from that. But our situations and our because of our poor governance and because of our economic what's it called poverty of thought. It's not only just poverty of like wealth, but poverty of thought. The thinking wasn't very good, and there's no way around this. We have to say this, and so these effects are gonna be felt more deeply in places like the Gambia than in the West, because we don't even have a safety net. Because here, at least, they have a safety net, whereby if you're out of work, at least if you've been paying your taxes in this country, you don't necessarily even have to be a citizen, but you have to be a legal resident of this country. There are some safety nets whereby you probably won't go hungry, you probably won't go homeless. But some of these social safety nets, they don't exist in Africa. They don't exist in the Gambia particularly. So we really need to work hard together, combine our resources and our thinking, and to see how we can improve the situation for our people back home, because it's very precarious. It's very grim news all the time. The statistics coming from the Gambia is quite grim, because if you have to look at the statistics, because you always have to compare the amount of the Gambia's population, and then you have to compare that to the amount of people who are testing positive, and then we know they are not even doing proper testing in the country. So if I get a figure like you gave today, Mr. Manja, like let's say if it's say 40, if they say 40 positive tests, I am not being cynical, but I want to. I'm not being cynical. I'm not also overly pessimistic, but I think I'll have to multiply that by 4 times, really, because we know there are not many test centers in the country, number one. And number two, we know people are very, they're not even taking this thing seriously. I think the government has tried a lot, but there are people who don't even think this pandemic needs to be taken seriously. I think that is a fundamental error. And then I think people need to wake up that this is not a joke. It's wreak havoc in countries that are powerful, in countries that have proper structures in place. There are countries which are both militarily and economically, and even when it comes to health, what you call public health, they are very, very strong. And we got all those variables missing in the Gambia. So we really have got our hands full here. I think my dad banker just mentioned to me that he's running late because he's got to take the kids to. I think he's running an errand with the kids anyway, but he should be joining us too. So in the meantime, Dr. Conte, I don't know if you got anything to add to this, please. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, panelists. Well, we had this problem since March or April of 2020, and there was a report by the World Bank dated April 20th, 2020, about the impact of corona
Mm,
on the world economy. And they made a prediction, that corona would find its way in sub-Saharan Africa in about 5 months. So again, what I don't understand again is that I wish the government of the Gambia had access to valuable data to be able to discern about predictions that would take place. And it has been estimated by Lagna, Castada, Aquila, and Wu that there would be extreme poverty globally from 40 to 60 million people. And that sub Sahara is going to be impacted. Actually, these 40 to 60 million, they predicted that would be in sub Saharan Africa. So they indicated, that there's a possibility that the world output, the economic output, would decrease or contrast by 3%. So if we look at that for Gambia by itself, we can say that if our output in our country decreased to such nature, what would happen to our tax revenue uh, when actually the government of the Gambia, the parliament, budgeted 2020 fiscal year, and to see that they never came back even during this crisis to say, well, we may need to make some adjustment to the budget because our predictions may not be met. Instead, what Parliament they did was having appropriations to actually increase expenditure. So how on earth will you be able to increase expenditure when you know that it's highly unlikely that the tax revenue that you're going to be collecting will decrease exponentially. So the paper went on to state, that the poverty index is less than $1.90 per day that people live on. And the prediction is that it's further going to decrease because of the global impact, because of the COVID, impact in the country. So they indicated again, that the poverty is going to reach almost 665 million people. And they predicted even way back in 2019 that the growth in world economic will decrease from 8.2% to 8.1%. This was before COVID. And we would like to know where it stands right at this moment. So as you can see here, what we have is that if we don't have any incentives or any revenue base to support activities of a government, the question here is that from April of 2020 to today, which is the 17th of August 2020, what have we lost in our revenue forecast? No one is even talking about that. So what is going to happen is that by December, what was going to be predicted is going to be far less than what we actually going to have. So this is one area that if we have expertise, people willing to leave politics alone, because COVID doesn't know any political party that you are affiliated with. COVID doesn't know whether you are poor or rich. As far as you have that infection, it's going to get you. So the best thing we can do was to have safety nets, but we never did. But I'm not here today to criticize the government, because I think we all need to be in this together. Because if you look, since Biri was buried, and I even objected to the public burial. I said that bringing him over to Parliament, I'm scared that there might be some infections. And just like I predicted and other people predicted happened, but that being the case, you notice that every single day we have people dying, and the numbers don't only include older people. Even if you have pre-medical condition, it even includes young people, because I've seen young faces in the Gambia that it's very troubling. So again, like I said, I'm going to go back again, to talk about the possibility of a decrease, because the population of Sub-Sahara is 1.216 billion people, and the GDP of Sub-Sahara is over $1 trillion. So what is the percentage of Gambia's GDP relative to the GDP of the entire sub-African countries? And to do a correlation to see whether, in fact, there is a possibility that the Gambia's GDP will decrease to such nature. So when I looked at the numbers, I noticed that it was even less than 0.19. It was less than 0.19%. And if it is less than 0.19%, what is our share of this downfall in our economy? And make no mistake about it, if you look at our import and export, you notice that even last year by itself, the Gambia imported 31 billion dollars of goods, but the Gambia only exported 31 million, so 431 million. So you notice that even before the COVID, we have serious problem in balance of trade or deficit year ending 2019. And what is going to happen to our economy in the long duration? So this is something that I think all the politicians, whether you are, whatever political party you belong to, I think we should have leadership starting from the president down, because the president, even though he came on TV, I don't think he gave a solution to the problems that we are facing. And going in is a very serious thing that we need to do. So what I'm saying here is that today, looking at the number of deaths and looking at but one thing I just want to ask you all too, even though we are talking about the economy, I want someone to help me because I really don't understand this, because I've seen increase in COVID in the coastal areas as opposed to other sides of the country. And for that, I really don't know. And again, looking at Banjul, in my view, I said there should be a complete lockdown in the capital city because of the fact that this thing is increasing, is not decreasing. Last time we checked Brekama, the numbers that we got, and then it went up by what, 20 cases. So this is something that I think all of us to gonna look at. I'm gonna take a look also at whether, in fact, as of January 1, 2020, the rate of the Gambian dollar to other foreign currencies, meaning the British pound sterling, or the euro, or the United States dollar, even the Chinese yuan, I want to see whether the Gambian dollar had, depreciated or gone down in value. And again, a lot of people do not know that even some of the money that funds that these people received for the COVID, it was almost 80% was debt. So which means that we don't even know the deficit that we have in our country as of December 31, 2019. And then you couple that with the problems that we have, it is something that I think is very serious. And we as Gambians, we all need to come together to find a solution to our country's problems, because some of us are fortunate to be out of the Gambia. But for some folks who are living, and then you live in a house where you don't even have electricity, you don't even have water. And the culture that people coming to visit and so forth. And this is very troubling. And people, if you go to the mortuary in Banjul, it's just so terrible. Somebody just made a post. So again, like I said, let's put down our differences. Today, we are looking at what we can do for the Gambia. Because if you look at the map, and we also want to encourage the government, because the last time they updated the data was August 14th. Today, is the 17th of August. We don't have any information on the 15th. We don't have any information on the 16th. So I think they should be able to provide us with the instant data. And also, we need to also educate ourselves, health education. Because I was talking to a family member who was telling me that some people are saying that if you drink palm wine, you won't get COVID. So and some people are saying that if you put on juju, you won't catch this virus. So again, I don't want to take much of your time. Today, I do believe that we as Gambians, we should come together to solve our country's problems. But we also encourage Barrow. He has not given us solution to the problems that we are facing as Gambians. And I also challenge all the political leaders to say, leave our differences alone. Come together, bring solutions for us so that we can minimize this nightmare that we have in our country. So I'll let you all take over, please.
Thank you so much, Dr. Conteh. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Manja, as you heard, Dr. Conteh, there's a lot. There's a lot to do. There's a lot that could have also been done, but it wasn't done. But today is not the day for pointing fingers. But the difficulty is we can't just get away from it, because it's just so blatant. I don't know if you want to call it short-sightedness. I think we just want to use very positive words here. But sometimes, like I said, it's just no getting away from it, that we kind of it's a screw up, really. Yeah, the situation should not be. It should be a little bit better than it is today. I don't know what's your take on what Dr. Conteh said, especially when it comes to the figures for the people testing positive in Combo compared to other parts of the country. I've got my own theory on that, but I think I'll leave you to see. You can tell us what you think that is.
Yeah. Before I forget, Doctor, can you write this down? You said the Dalasi depreciation from January, how the percentage our Dalasi depreciated, and what this meant for the common man, and also the security of the food supply. What does that mean? Okay, coming back to why the numbers are higher in Combo. That should make us very, very worried because Komba is the epicenter of Gambia, as usual. So that's why any government that Combo have to be a priority. That's where everybody is. That's a fact. If you come from any part of the world, you come to the Gambia, you come to Combo, then you decide wherever you want to go. So Combo is the first contact anyway. So that's why the numbers are high in Combo, and that's why Gambians should also be very, very worried. Because today I look at that map, the last village in the Gambia, Sami also have, and every region have, just that the numbers are different. So this virus is such a way that people can move around with it for 2 weeks. Sometimes before you even know you have the virus. So, and in certain events, it takes what they call super spreaders. We have some people, who, if they are infected, they spread the virus more than any others. The scientists are trying to understand this, why some people spread the virus more. And there are also events that virus tend to spread quicker, and I think that happened in Biribiri's memorial. I think it was a super spreading event, and that's why we've seen all these numbers in Banjul, and also all these deaths in Banjul. So because Combo is the first call of contact, that's why we have these numbers, and I believe the numbers are going to move gradually to other part. And as we have seen before the Tobaski, there is hardly any numbers in any of these hinterlands. But 2 weeks after the Tobaski, we've seen these numbers stacking up. But as you said, Dave, you are too generous. If they tell us, like right now we have 63 infection confirmed, I will multiply that by 10. Believe me, I will multiply that by 10, and our death rate is one of the worst in world. Is 3.4. Liberia, their death rate is only 0.6. Senegal is even lower. So if you go by per capita, Tua is higher. We are Tua is worse off in terms of number of deaths compared to Senegal. Senegal have only 200 deaths. We have 63 by 8, that's 504. So we more than double Senegal. So this is a situation. And also, if you observe in the social media, you will observe there are deaths. People are dying. But considering the number of our religious leaders and imams, there seems to be a spike, a disproportionate higher number of deaths among our religious scholars. And I have a theory. This is just a theory. Because in Gambia, these are the people, if people have marriage problem, these are the first contact. If there is a christening ceremony, they are the first contact. If there is a funeral, in that case, they might even physically touch the cough. If people are ill, these are the people they look at. So there are chances of catching the virus. In fact, I'll call them not the front line, but in front of the front line, but without the PPE. The front line, if the government did that, they are protected. They know what to expect. Anybody coming to them, they will assume this guy is infected. But compared to these religious leaders, I think they are very, very vulnerable. And I don't know who is our religious minister. He should, organize special training for these people. Tell them, look, we are in extraordinary situation, and this is the situation. You are the first contact, whether it's peace or non-peace. And if people have social issues, you are the first contact. They should teach them how to be careful, to be extra careful. For them also to have the proper PPPs, and also how to handle different kind of people. So this is my theory. You look anywhere, you see imams dying, religious scholar dying. It's just too much. Thank you very much. This is what I have to conduct. Banka, welcome, and I love your side.
Thank you. I just thought I suck it up to the Man U folks.
Only 3 teams win cup in England this year, and Arsenal is one of them. So congratulations.
Thank you. I just wanted the Man U folks to see it. Since yesterday they had a humiliating affair, but that's a whole different story for a different day. But but I thank you to both to all of you, yourself, Dr. Conteh and son Dave. Thank you so much for another brilliant program discussing this COVID-19 issue and breaking it down. I think it helps a lot to really break it down for our people number-wise, as far as what the trajectory is, how things look like, the state of affairs. It must. I gotta be honest with you guys. I've been learning a great deal from these sessions myself. So thank you once again for doing so. Now, based on what I'm seeing, because the today's number really shocked me. I don't know whether you guys have seen the today's number or not. The one that was
No,
released today.
not
It,
yet.
it, it was 184 today.
What?
Positives. Yes. So today might probably be the highest or among the highest numbers recorded as
Yeah,
far as this COVID.
it
There
is.
you go. So which is very, I mean, in other words, this is escalating. It's going up. Up to what point, I don't know. I don't think anybody can tell at this point. And based on what we have seen in other countries and what the scientists, the experts like yourself, Ahmed, you always say, it goes up before it actually comes down. So I am hoping that this upward movement that we are seeing will at some point soon peak, and then we start to see a drop. I hope. And with all the quarantine, I mean, the measures that are being put in place, the mask enforcement rules, and and curfews and all that stuff, I'm hoping that we'll begin to see some kind of a tapering of this trajectory. But it's really very scary. And son, as you know, I've been calling your grandma on a daily basis. Basically, no, because you know how it is. I mean, people will show up. You know how it works in our community. People just show up there with unannounced, and they will hang out with no mask on, and they will just have their chatting session like nothing is happening. These people are totally oblivious to what is happening around the world. So we consistently have to, especially us here in the diaspora, have to make sure we call our folks back home and keep reinforcing the message. Sometimes it takes us yelling at them and saying, look, this is serious. This can kill you, for them to maybe begin to take it a lot much more seriously than they already have. Because otherwise, for them, they've resigned their fate to Allah's hand anyway. So, the way we look at it here, I sit here and I get nervous and I have sleepless nights. In the Gambia, life is like it's as if nothing is happening. So I think that diaspora here, I know we are doing a brilliant job in making sure that we provide masks and stuff like that. But I think beyond that, more importantly, if I may add, is to really keep calling them consistently and pounding in their heads the message. And, and I hope, son, you are doing that with my older brother and my darling over there and insisting, because they are old school. They still have that old system over there as far as they are concerned. That kind of thing. This is how they look at things. So we all have to do our part in making sure that we keep the calls. But I just came in, so I don't know where you guys stand right now as far as the topic is concerned. So I'll just shut up and so I can get a sense of where we're going.
No, thank you so much, Mr. Majan. Thank you, Dr. Conteh. No, it's fine. This is free flow. I mean, the plan was to get what's it called, an economist, a subject matter specialist. Unfortunately, he's struggling to connect. That's the Gambia for you. He's in the Gambia right now, Dr. Gagigo. He's trying. He's doing his best, but the connection is very, very poor. But he's trying. But yes, thank you. I mean, like you said, we need to keep hammering home the message, because I think our people need a change of attitude. Yeah, but then again, like Dr. Conteh cautioned us, it's not the day and it's not the time to hammer to be like, how do I call it? You don't want to be anti-establishment, but we just can't get away from it. I mean, things like now I'm gonna get probably more technical now, because being from my training, I think what they could have done, and I think they didn't do that, and maybe I didn't actually I didn't make this opinion public. Maybe somebody just think, oh, it's a stupid boy, I don't know what he's talking about, let's just listen to him. We could have done simulations. We could do modeling. We could have done simulations, and they could use machine learning algorithms. You can build systems. And I think that's where sometimes innovation comes in, technological innovation. And you don't need to have lots of computer scientists to do this. And
Right.
they got enough good programmers in the Gambia. You wouldn't believe they have so many good programmers, and they can actually ask people here in the diaspora as well. How do you do modeling?
Data modeling, yes,
Yeah, how
definitely,
do we
yes.
data modeling? And how do we do like how do we get build simulation systems? We could have done this, and then from those we should have been able to get a rough idea of how many people might get infected, how many of those people might die, and you can even do simulations like how the message is going to get across to the people, because that's so important. It's just no need like doing some statistics of how many people are going to die. But half of the people don't cannot read or write anyway, and it might just go above their head. So simplify the message to them, hammer it to them, and let them understand where we're coming from. So these things didn't happen. Yeah. So these are things whereby they are interdepartmental, interorganizational, and they could be at the university. So the University of the Gambia, they got social scientists. Yeah, they got the school from the School of Medicine, they got the School of Nursing and Midwifery, or and the School of Public Health. Those people come together with their concerns, and they sit down with computer scientists and programmers. People do artificial intelligence, not that heavy, just simple machine learning algorithms, simple modeling, and then they can come together. I mean, that's what they do in this country. I mean, Mr. Changan was saying it last time, where you have the security forces and the medical people from the medical and health and other places all coming together, combined resources and thinking, and then trying to find a way of trying to, because nobody has we don't have a fix for this, we don't have a vaccine, but at least we can try and minimize the devastating effect it's going to wreak on the people. So a countries like the Gambia, they are not that rich, so we need to be innovative. Yeah. So we got people doing a lot of innovation in medicine right now. It doesn't take that much money and what's it called, and resources. We got countries like Rwanda. I mean, Rwanda is a terrible example to use sometimes because it's out of a very devastating genocide because of that, and the goodwill of the whole world, which helped them to come to where they are. But they're still a good example. It's a good example for a lot of people to emulate them. And you got places like Ghana, and they are trying very hard. They got their people in computer science and stuff. They're doing simulations. They're making machine learning algorithms. They're making them. So the Gambia could have done something like this. And like I said, it has to be how do you want to call it, multi-institutional. But if they use the University of the Gambia, use them as research. Yeah. So there are developers in the Gambia. There might actually be software developers who don't live in the Gambia. They're outside of the Gambia, but people will chip in. There are machine learning. There are people who do artificial intelligence. There are people who do data science. So these people can always come and chip in. And if we collaborate, like people from all these spheres, social sciences, the medical and health, people from even people from the defense, the law and order, they can do simulation. For example, if you're gonna be what's it called, asking people decline a coffee, how many people would probably refuse to accept this? These are all things you can simulate. And it doesn't take that much money. It doesn't need that. So some of the money they had, the funding they had, they could have been utilized for this, but we didn't do that. So that's why I think it's very unfortunate. But it's still not too late. We could still do these things, but this is need to be. You need to have lots of people coming together, combine resources and people's experience and expertise. We need to combine this together, and then we probably can make some headway here. I don't think, yeah. I think the statistics, the numbers are very grim. If you look at them, like if you have to go by, for example, if the Gambia say 10 people die in the Gambia, well, that's like, so if you want to compare that to Senegal, say what 100 people have died in Senegal, it's no scale there, because of the relative size of the populations. But it's important now people, they keep on hammering this message, and we also we play a part in this. So I mean, obviously I speak to your brother, I speak to your wife as well all the time. I tell, look, mom, stay at home. Dad, your brother is cool anyway. Well, he always have to go to the big man. That's okay, he's cool. Yeah.
Right.
But yes, but we all need to keep doing this. All of us in the diaspora, we need to do this. People back home need to keep hammering the message. And going back to Dr. Conteh, made this observation, and then I think Mr. Manjan actually touched on this. I think I'm just gonna, just an addition to what Mr. Manjan said. I mean, everybody's in Combo, but at the same time, Combo is where some of these, even though we have limited medical facilities, this is where they are, and this is where you can also say, you can say educated people, well, not educated and so on, so, but you can say people who are literate at least, so they will even have They might even have the urge to go and test themselves. But people in the rural areas might not do that. But I think
Mhm.
the numbers in the rural areas might spike up because why? Two reasons for that. Lots of people went up country for the Eid,
Mhm.
so
Correct.
that shouldn't have happened. Yeah.
Mhm.
So we're gonna see the numbers spike up in the rural areas very soon. Unfortunately, I think this is gonna happen. So
Mhm.
anyway, I think just for today, I'll do a little bit of socio technology. That's my background, obviously. But
Mhm.
innovation, technological innovation is quite important and it's very useful for our people to fall back on them. The machine learning, that what's it called, artificial intelligence, simulation. These are all things our people could have used. And like I said, it's not rocket science. And they just got people
Mhm.
with resources and who should be able to help them. So they go to the university in the Gambia. I think they got a computer science faculty there, and they got the School of Medicine. They got School of Public Health, and just pull all these people together and they just said, oh, this is what we're going to happen, we think this is going to happen, and then give it to the guys with the computers, let them see what they can do. And even people from statistics, it's all of them. Machine learning and data science is statistics, lot of statistics. So there you go.
But son, before the two gentlemen come in there, I just want to buttress at that point quickly, Ahmed and Doctor, if you guys don't mind. The only time I've seen something like this was when it took a Western guy, this white dude in the Gambia, few days ago, was it two days ago or 3 days ago? I saw him come up with this statistical data stuff on the Gambia, and he presented it. And for the first time, I even responded to him. I said, you know what? For the first time, I'm getting something that finally gives me a picture of where we are going with this. Because you see, in the United States here, the moment these things started, Dr. Fauci, as you all remember him very well, he's the one man leading the fight against COVID here. He came out and said 200,000 people are going to die by such and such date. I mean, that number at that time sounded ridiculous because at that time, US only had 2,000 deaths. But he basically said 200,000 deaths. And somebody like me who couldn't understand how they got to that number, I'm sitting there going, are you serious? Are you kidding me? 200,000 people. But now, all of a sudden, it makes perfect sense. I mean, we are I mean, within that range now. In fact, now they have revised this and saying, no, by such and such date, it's going to be 300,000. I mean, at that time, even 10,000 seemed like a lot. But these
Yeah.
people somehow were able to pin it down. As crazy as the number sounded, it was right on the spot. So what I am saying is that Dr. Conteh did it here the last time, and I was very impressed with it. We remember when he broke down the parliamentary seats and the numbers, the population versus and how he broke that down. I don't see us doing that in the Gambia and in the West, as you all know. Every policy decision, every policy decision is based on such breakdowns and such numbers. In the US here, even amount of money a district receives, it depends on certain numbers. How many people you have, how many of this population you have, how many, that will determine how much budget you are allocated. It determines how many schools you get. It determines so many things. I mean, even the number of, how would I call it, congressional seats, how many you have. It all depends on these numbers. But in the Gambia, we are not in the habit of this. We do just use arbitrary stuff, do arbitrary stuff, not based on science. And science has an answer for all these issues. There's a science, some you work in this field, this analysis stuff. You know how much important this thing is and how it affects our lives. In fact, our whole entire humanity and living depends on these things. So, because before you can even plan a budget for your home, I mean, it run your home efficiently, you better be able to look at these numbers and play around with them, plug them in spots, and then get a picture so that you can plan ahead. If you are not doing that, then obviously you are just means you are not going to run an efficient budget even in your own household.
Right.
But in the Gambia, we are not in the habit of doing these things. We just sit there and say, "Oh, COVID, we understand it's going to be very, very, very bad." Well, what is very, very bad? That's very, very. I mean, what is bad? Well, if the numbers are going to be high, what is high? You can attach an actual number to all these things. But because you cannot plan based on high, you cannot plan based on bad. There is nothing called bad. There is nothing called high. So if you look at relativity as far as those issues are concerned, that bad may be good. It may not be. I mean, again, it may even be worse. You are calling it bad. It could be anything, but the only way you know that is if you do a data analysis and attach real numbers to these issues, then you get a sense of where we are going. The only person I did that with COVID-19 in the Gambia is a Western guy, white guy. So out of the blues, just put these things together, model the numbers based on what we are getting, and he said, okay, by this we can say that this number of people are going to die by such and such, and this number of people are. And I'm sitting there going, really, for the first time, I'm seeing something like this. But anyway, I just thought I buttress your point. I'm sorry, guys.
No,
Yeah,
thank you
Dave,
so much.
let me just sorry, Dr. Conteh. Banka, this what I've been doing actually past a couple of weeks. It's simple thing, just that people are lazy. Those in authority are lazy.
I believe
and
you.
I've been changing it on daily basis. As you give me this number after this program, I'll go and revise those numbers. Our last time I shared this yesterday, I think Dave saw it in Combo Iruakafo and also other platform and also my Facebook. Our death rate now is 3.4. This is one of the worst you will find anywhere in the world. And our positivity rate was 40% from on the 14th.
Wow.
So basically, yeah, that's the positivity rate. So you say, okay, you take a stagnant figure like today. If 40% of Gambia should be positive, that is like 40% of 2 million. That's like 800, maybe 800,000.
Correct.
So yeah, that's 800,000 positive. It could be positive. That's how you write it. Then
Right.
3.5%, that's the death rate of 800,000. You understand? So
yes, I get it.
On the 14, 20,000 Gambians could die. Could you imagine per capita, how much is that? You compare, you can easily compare it to US, you can easily compare it to Senegal. I said like per capita, Gambia now doubled Senegal in terms of number of deaths because we have 63 deaths, they have 230 something. But per capita, if you multiply Gambia's number by 8, that Senegal is 8 times bigger than Gambia. Our death is about 805 right now compared to if you're going to compare. So
when they are getting one,
this is simple. So after this program, I'll go and revise how many Gambians could die. It's there for everybody, and it makes sense. It ram home the message, as you said.
Yes,
wow,
correct.
a small population like this, only one disease, 20,000. And you know what is also happening? What they are not taking notice. COVID is taking resources from other illnesses.
Yep.
People are going to die more with those kind of illnesses before COVID, like malaria.
Malaria is ravaging. Malaria is ravaging that country.
And just what is happening? Malaria symptoms superimpose with that of COVID. There are common symptoms that are very common with malaria and are also common with COVID. I wrote an article about this as well last week. What they need to do, because if somebody should come with say, okay, there are very few which are specific to malaria but specific to COVID. If somebody should come and say, I have a fever, what do? You have to test them for malaria. If they are negative, you have to test them for COVID. But if they come with COVID symptom also, you cannot rule out malaria. You have to test them for both, so you don't miss one. Because if somebody should come with COVID, but at the same time they have malaria, that is a double warning. You know what I mean? So, Dave, I'm not sure if you can see the comments. If you don't, I will help you to read them for you.
Yes. I was just going to do that actually.
Okay, then.
Yes,
you can see them, right?
Yeah, I can see them. Yeah,
Okay,
I was going to read Suwaneh's Ibrahim.
Okay.
Yes, because obviously he couldn't join us today because of work. He was just saying that religious leaders perform what's it called? The last office is the rights for the dead people. Therefore, they have direct contact with dead fluids. I mean, just what you were mentioning anyway. I think he's basically trying to stress that. And then we got another MC Cham who said that he believes that the government have got the right number. They just not sharing not with us. Mr. Cham, actually, I don't think they have the numbers. I don't think they even have the faintest idea of the numbers.
But Dave, I wouldn't also be surprised if they have the numbers and care. We have a president. He is ill. If you are conversant with symptoms of COVID. This guy was talking. He was like when a marathon runner finished a marathon, and he was asked to give an interview. That's how he was talking. His lung capacity, his lung capacity was being forced to the limit. And after we discover, actually, this was pre-recorded. It was cut and joined together, and bring it forward. So if somebody should say it, maybe they are hiding the numbers. I wouldn't be surprised. But also, it's obvious they cannot even get the numbers right anyway, because what is happening right now, if you are positive, if you are not ill, they ask you to go home. They ask you, if you are sick, then you can call us. That 10, 20, 25 is not even working. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. Yeah, that's good. Just to buttress that point, that's what I was saying. I mean, I don't think they actually have the real numbers because they're not doing enough testing anyway. I mean, you've got people dying all over the place. They don't even know what they're dying from. Like you said, it's malaria season in the Gambia. Like you said, you're the medical professional, and the symptoms are very similar. So people are used to have somebody dying from a malarial fever. So it could be COVID. So that's why I don't think they have the figures. But yeah, there might be, like MC Champ said, the government might be hiding the data. But I think I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm saying, well, out of they don't have the right numbers, and that also still comes to poor governance, really. Anyway, Dr. Conteh, I mean, if you could chip in, please.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna give you the numbers for the forensic or for the Gambian dollars equivalents to the dollar and so forth. But the accident that happened in Gunjur, whereby Mr. Bojang collided with a vehicle, and you just reminded me of the of malaria. We all are from the countryside. I think we should now begin to empower our people, encourage our people to cover standing water. Because if there is some kind of link between malaria and COVID, and we live in villages where when it rains, we have standing water there, the mosquitoes feed in there, and then at night they bite people and so forth. So that is something that is my concern. So I want anyone here to tell me, whether you think that's a good suggestion, because it seems like this thing happens continuously, that when it rains in the villages, we just leave water standing there. And the water can stand there for days, even months, and so forth. So what do you all think about the correlation between malaria and COVID and the fact that we have standing water in our villages?
Thank you so much. I think it still goes back to poor governance. I mean, we lack infrastructure. I mean, you cannot even have infrastructure if you don't have the right institutions anyway. Number one, you have to have the right proper institutions so that you can even think about having proper infrastructure. You cannot have infrastructure if you don't have structures. So we don't have a functioning structures that work. It's just as simple as that. I mean, at the state we are in right now, the COVID situation, its economic impact on us. We're not economists, obviously, so we can just talk in general terms. We are very generally, so what we say is this is going to be social commentary. Okay. But I think right now, what is missing in the Gambia is we should have seen like a concerted effort by pooling of resources of all the politicians, even creating like emergency committees for this. I think they do have a health subcommittees or whatever they call them in Parliament or in National Assembly. But we've come to a situation with COVID-19 whereby I think it should have been a lot better than this, really. So I think there's a lot more that should have been done, but it could still be done. It's still not late. It's still not too late. I think we can just try the correct initial strategy. The initial strategy is not very, very good, but I think we can try, and then we get some more people to make better decisions, and then let them not be shy to ask other Gambians outside. I think they have a massive ready pool of resources in the diaspora, and who are very, very willing to help. And I think they need to call upon them, really. I think that's important.
Okay, and then going back.
Can I add something about the malaria?
Yeah, please.
This is where I think next election for Gambia. This is not a platform political discussion, even though there's nothing wrong talking politics. It's beyond party politics. You know,
Mhm.
malaria, Gambia now, malaria should not kill anybody in the Gambia. The first malaria, this chloroquine you have, was first trial in the Gambia in 1947. Then
Mhm.
almost two-thirds of the world is affected by malaria. But
Mhm.
malaria now affect only a third of the world. In fact, to such an extent that these are some of the areas MRC is scaling back. But instead of Gambia coming in and take up that research, in fact, what happened? Farafenni is one of the biggest. After Fajara is Farafenni, they have a big research station there. When they scale back malaria research, they don't need it. They hand it over to the University of the Gambia. Just what happened? Banka, some of the accommodation buildings, they just completed before people move in. They
Mhm.
hand it over to Gambia government or University of the Gambia. I don't know.
Right.
I think it was 160,000 gallons of petrol. I don't know. But guess what happened? After
Ah.
2 years, they stole
Yeah.
all the petrol, all the houses went in. When all the houses, these brand new houses, went into disrepair. In fact, MRC are coming back because their resources are they're coming back to start some kind of research there. So you see the problem we have. The
Yeah.
first thing they do, they stole all the petrol. Then you have the houses. Nobody goes in there, and they all went into this web. So this is the situation we have. He's saying, okay, mosquitoes bite you at night. That was before. Now, if you are in Combo, even 2 o'clock, mosquitoes will start biting people. I can
Yes.
tell you.
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Malaria
and
is
then
really bad.
Mhm.
Mhm.
okay, but Mr. Banka, you wanna comment on
No, 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 no.
current?
It's okay. You don't. No, no. You good. You good.
Okay, so
Mhm.
again, looking at the U.S. dollar, uh, as of January 1, 2020, it was $50 is 92 buttons officially to the U.S. dollar. But as we stand today, I know it's after 5 o'clock in England. It's 51.6, which means that we are taking more dollars to get foreign currencies. So, looking at the GDP of the Gambia as of fiscal year 2019, we had 1.8 billion US dollars. And the nominal GDP, meaning that taking the total output divided by the population, we have $755 per person. And the purchasing power parity, have we had 6,448. So what I did was I looked at the total GDP of Sub-Sahara, which is 1,755 billion and 11 million US dollars. So looking at that, I tried to see what is the Gambia's ratio to the total GDP of Sub-Sahara Africa, and it's only 0.10%.
Wow.
So 0.10%. So let me ask you all this question because this is simple math. When this COVID started and people were not opening their shops, businesses were not selling, the Gambia Revenue Authority wasn't able to collect taxes. If we have a GDP of 1.8 billion, the question that I'm asking is, what do you think is going to happen to our GDP as of December 31, 2020? And what is going to happen to the anticipated revenue? Because this is one area that I disagree with the Ministry of Finance when they are making their budget. The grant money that they're supposed to receive from external sources, that was just promise. It's not legally binding. They normally would include that to the total revenues of the country. So now having this COVID, what do you think is going to happen to our GDP? Is it going to go down by 25%? And my prediction it's going to. And then if that is the case, what is going to happen to the predicted or budgeted revenue that we anticipate to have for 2020 fiscal year? So again, when I looked at the Finance Act, I did not see anything relative to if we have a deficit. What do we need to do with the deficit? if we have a surplus, of course, maybe we can carry that to the next fiscal year. So meaning putting that in the fund balance. But there is no indication based on the Finance Act what we're going to do. So having said that, providing services to citizens of the Gambia is going to be very limited. And this government should be cautioned not to buy fixed assets, meaning buying all these vehicles and so forth. I think we should be able to sit down and assess, because we haven't heard from the Minister of Finance. Some people say he has COVID. We haven't heard from him. But I'm predicting to you, that by December, we're going to have a nightmare, because the government cannot tell us, even last year, whether, the budget, the revenues that we predicted that we're going to earn and the expenditures that we predicted that are going to incur, we don't even know whether we spend more or whether we earn less in terms of revenue. So again, like I said, I have always been a vocal critic of this government. But seeing so many deaths in the Gambia, I think sometimes we have to subdue ourselves now. This is time where we have to put country first, and I hope we can. But I just want to tell you also, suggest something to you, that I think if you contact the state, the press secretary of the State House, she's a person who will be, because I normally send her questions and so forth. And this is one area, that we cannot just sit down. But again, if we blame the government, how about the opposition? What are they doing? What policy statements have they said? What do they anticipate that we're going to have in our country? Because right now, it seems like what is happening. You said we have 187 more new cases.
Yes,
187. So
184.
184.
184. Yeah.
So what caution can we give to, because you are telling me the people who clean the dead before they bury them, how about those who are going to even bury them? Usually they don't even have shoes on. They don't have gloves on. Because sometimes sometimes when you die in the village, if they want to bury in a hurry. So these are things that we need to do. But again, what I'm saying to you is that I think all of us are doing a wonderful job. Barrow spoke, but for him to have a pre-recorded, speech to the nation, I find that to be very baffling. And again, the opposition, I think they should also come out and give us a policy statement. This is no time to rejoice over the First Lady going to the hospital or getting sick and so forth. I think what we need to do is to put our country first, because every single day, I know all of you at night, you worry about your loved ones in the Gambia. But one sad thing that I normally see is every time you try to advise certain people, they'll tell you, it's not going to happen here. I say, but how do you know? So again, we need to educate our people again, but I am also calling on the opposition to say, let's settle our differences. Let's put Gambia first. Let's sit down and try to find a way to solve this nightmare. Otherwise, we're all going to perish. And I want to add another thing too. Do you know that the Navy of the Gambia, I don't think they even have a speed boat that can carry the dead from either Banjul going to Bara area. I read something that one of the vans that was stationed in Bara, some people said that it broke down, and they were saying that the ferry left. So which means that they didn't have any proper communication. Here you are bringing a dead person you're going to bury, but the ferry going to leave before the dead person's body was brought to Bara. So we don't even have any speedboat that can carry somebody either from Banjul to Bara or Bara to Banjul. So, but our government is going out there building this gigantic building for conference center when we don't even have resources to take care of our people. So again, let's all put our hands together and solve the problem of our country, because again, like I said, Some of all of us here, we are fortunate. But those who are in the Gambia, they are continuing to have nightmares, and they will if the government and the opposition, if they don't come together and say, let's put our hands together to solve the Gambia's problems.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Conte. I think there are some the issue probably I wouldn't call it an issue, but it's a little huddle if I want to call it that. I mean, the government will have to be willing to call on its people in the diaspora to come and help. I think it's important. You couldn't. Anybody would like to volunteer, but there has need to be a structure in place. There has to be something you can go to. You see. So I mean, if you got experts like the doctors are here and stuff, you can even speak to them. But is that happening? Have they got like a channel of over, like line of communication to doctors, in the diaspora who like Sawaneh and others who are dealing at the forefront, what's it called, at the front line of this what's it called, the battle against COVID in places like the UK? I'm not too sure. So you could be as patriotic as you can be, but there's got to be a body there who is willing and ready to actually ask you to come and help. I mean, you can volunteer, but there has to be mechanisms in place, and I don't think those mechanisms are there. But anyway, I need to make a clarification. When I was speaking, I said they didn't do any simulations. Somebody who is in IT in the Gambia told me they actually did do simulations in the Gambia, just nobody just know about it. So there you go. Me and him gonna have that conversation later. What's the use having simulations when people don't know about it?
Hmm.
What's the use?
Very
Yeah.
good question.
But yeah, but my point to him anyway is like it need to be inter institutional, and then probably the University of Gambia need to spearhead this. I mean, I mean here, I mean we got like centers. You call them, for example, the Center University of London Goldsmith, where I went, whereby people who are trained in computer sciences and electronics, they retrain them to become social scientists. Then they become social technologists. So you have a background in computing. Now they train you on how to also become a social scientist. Then so they have research centers like that. Center for Creative and Technological Association. They have them all over the place now. So Gambia can have something like that, whereby you have people from the science fields working with people from the social sciences. I think we need to do those. We need those combinations, and we need the innovation. They need to have technological innovation. It doesn't take that much. It's just a paradigm shift in thinking, and then it's a lot of things our people could do. But if they've been doing simulations there, I'm gonna get back to him later. People need to know what are the figures, what did they think, what were their forecasts. Until my dad actually mentioned today, there's a white guy who made these what's it called these statistics, and back home I wasn't even aware there was one. But then somebody's listening to me. He must have, even though I can't see them on here. But he just said, "Oh, Dave, actually we do have." So I'll speak to him later. All right, thank you.
But make sure, Dave, when you talk to the gentleman, to suggest if they're in the Ministry of Health, to have statisticians, to have somebody in statistics who's good in statistics, because we want to know, what's going on in our country. We just cannot just simply, take things for granted. I looked at the map, that they provided in the country. If you don't see your town, you say Alhamdulillah. But my town is there, Brufut is there, Gunjur now is added, and but these coastal areas, the spike there is just so frightening, and I just get so when I look at Facebook stuff and see so many people dying, is worrying. But again, Dave, I would like for you to engage him on this simulation.
It's a lady, yeah, actually.
Yeah, because I mean,
I need to contact her.
it's no, but how?
It, does,
Okay, that's
it
another
doesn't work for
area
the
that
government. It doesn't work for the government, by the way. Yeah.
oh, he doesn't work for the government.
No, it's just in the Gambia, and he's come from this background. So yes, he said they do the simulations they have. So she will clarify later.
Okay,
It's,
okay,
you know,
well,
yeah.
Yeah. Can I add something? Somebody just text. He say actually World Bank official. He said World Bank grant to Gambia is 10 million US dollars. I think this is the money they buy some of these big stuff like the ambulances, which actually we don't have people to man them because some of like the airway technology and all that, it's not even in the Gambian Northern syllabus. So these are white elephants investment. And also, Dave, you talk about diaspora going in and help. I can tell you, I'm not sure because these people, they think diaspora, I don't know, they are like vultures. When they come, they're going to take their resources and run away with it. There is this, I don't know, Mr. Njai was ranting about, there was this story last week that they are running out of PPEs. They don't have the capacity. He said, no, they are lies. These are lies from the diaspora. We have enough PPE. We have enough, human resources. But as soon as he finished that, I understand MRC closed their door to the public because they are struggling to catch up. So they have to start scaling back. That was MRC. This is one of the most structured organizations, not only in the Gambia but the whole world, because they've been in Gambia for 75 years now. So why MRC will close their door? Because most of their staffs are infected anyway. And also, you go to the public health laboratory, most of them are, if they are not taking treatment, they are in quarantine. So this is a terrible situation. And what I'm coming back to MC Cham position, they don't do the publicity the way it should. And they have no reason for it. Barra was selling his agenda, and we are all aware of it. Why they are not using the same energy and technology and commitment? When it's politics time, everybody will know it's politics. This is more than politics, as Dr. Conteh said. They don't just put the resources and energy to sensitize the population about this, and that's why nobody is taking it seriously. You can close the market, you can do whatever you want to do, but if people don't understand the threat facing them, they're not going to take it seriously, and if they don't take it seriously, it's almost impossible to control. Sorry, I went a little bit too long.
It's all right. Let me just jump in there. There's a guy, I don't understand what he's saying, but I think he's objecting to the use of the word white guy. He said, don't say that again, please. But I don't understand. Is he objecting to the use of the word white guy, or because we said the white guy came? I'm not too sure. Mr. Sal Cham, if you can just help us, please. We didn't understand.
Yeah. I said white guy, I guess, right? Then is that what he is? I said that was a white.
I don't understand.
White guy who was coming with a statistic. I think you have an issue with it, but I don't know.
I don't understand. I'm not too clear what he meant. That's all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it's like a surprise face there.
Oh, okay.
But tell him that we thank him for coming up with.
Yeah, we thank him. Yeah. It's good.
Yeah. He's a regular here.
Yeah, well,
I don't understand. I mean, I would like to answer. We would like to answer him, but I don't understand.
So it's like a surprise face. Maybe it's a little bit sensitive to him. No need to apologize, Mr. Sal. We don't just understand the emoji, what it means. Yeah.
But go ahead.
It could be it takes a white guy to do it. Where are the Gambians? Maybe I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Exactly. It could be anything. Yeah. But look, I think that this is why you need to make sure that you build your institutions and have them strong so that they can deliver. Because the major problem that we are having in the Gambia is that we just don't have institutions. They don't exist. So what that means is that we are vulnerable to anything. I mean, it could be COVID today. It could be Ebola tomorrow. It could be, I can go on and on. I mean, it could be anything. It could be
natural disasters.
It could be heavy rain. It could be, I mean, I don't know. I can go on and on. You get the point. As far as we are vulnerable to anything, we are exposed big time because we don't even have any barriers or any walls that even need to be breached. The walls don't even exist. In other societies, you will at least have the walls, the levees all over the place protecting the city, so that when the water comes in, at least you can say that we have a wall. Maybe the wall might get breached and water will flow in. But in our case, we don't even have those walls. So if heavy water comes, it was just going to run all over the town and destroy everything in its wake. So the point that I'm making here is that, unfortunately, COVID has found a government that is ineffective, that doesn't know what it's doing, that doesn't have the resources, that doesn't know how to put together resources, that is even stealing the little resources that are there. I can go on and on about the issues that we have. So with that, anything COVID can easily ravage and destroy that country, and to a point where we cannot even recognize it anymore, because we don't even stand a chance against COVID. That's the problem. So with all these loopholes and issues that we are pointing at, they all, at the end of the day, in the final analysis, are pointing to a manifestation of the lack of the institutional structures to deal with these issues. So I mean, it's sad to say, but this is where we are. Our poor people are just vulnerable to anything, and it doesn't matter. You name it, it will kill us in very, very, very large numbers. Now, you talked about the GDP, Dr. Conteh. You see, that's all part of that institutional problem, because if you don't have the policies in place, the right policies would have been, number one, Gambia needs to expand its tax base. How do you expand your tax base? Make sure you create jobs in the private sector especially, and create more jobs over there so that more people are working. And with more people working, you have more tax coming in. We don't have that in the Gambia, because there are no jobs. The only jobs that are available are only in the government sector. Public sector. Public sector salaries are very bad. Unless you are stealing, you don't just not make any money. Now, the private sector, because government hasn't created an enabling environment, the private sector is really not non-existent. Only few entrepreneurs, few big names, few big companies that you can, even those big companies, by comparison to even next door Senegal, they are not big companies, they are small little bitty things. But for in our context, they are big. Again, so this is the problem. The other thing you would think they will do is to make sure that, because you have to expand your tax base and rake in more money, and you have to also make your tax collection process effective. Unfortunately, we don't have that. The tax collection process in the Gambia is, we all know, is just, again, another institutional failure. And then you have the corruption, the stealing. Now, if people are stealing all these monies that are coming in, one, that does affect trust when it comes to people paying taxes. And number two, it creates trust for those who want to just give you money as grants. It creates trust on all levels. So you have all these areas that our country is fully disadvantaged, because we have serious problems. You talk about those pledges. Countries that have pledge money pledge it based on some conditions that they want to see in place. Because now most of these countries too, their pledges are literally tied to certain criteria. Maybe some will tie theirs to human rights, some will tie theirs to corruption, dealing with corruption, some will tie theirs to making sure that the CSOs, like civil society organizations, are encouraged and proliferated, because they want to channel their monies through those institutions. If they don't see those institutions there, or they are not, government hasn't created the environment for them to thrive and exist and be able to monitor the progress and implementation of the projects that they have in mind, then they don't give these monies. Yes, they have promised, but they will withhold the funding. So we have a lot of issues. Now, for a country like that, where, like I said, the tax base is not there, the tax collection is faulty, the corruption is rife, unfortunately, what they try to depend on is grants, or to say, let's go and beg for money. So they will write a whole project, budget for a whole year that is literally 50% of which is literally based on going out there and begging for funding.
Yes.
And still to this day, that doesn't make any sense to me, because that is bad policy. You cannot build a budget based on this idea that I'm going to go out there and beg for money. It's like you sitting in your home, your own home budget. You are sitting there and saying to your wife, well, we are supposed to be spending $500 a month for the household expenditures. But don't worry, we'll just budget for $250. The other $250, I'll go beg my nephew Dave over there for $250, and I'll go to Manjang Ahmed and ask him for $100. And oh, by the way, I'll go to Dr. Conteh. I think he might give me $50. And I may go to this other guy here. I think maybe he would give me $25. Who builds a budget based on that idea? What if Manjang doesn't come through? What if Dave only has $20, not $100? What if Conteh cannot even give anything at all? How are you going to be able to really? How can you build a budget based on grants? You cannot. You build a budget based on what is realistic, what you have, what your expected income is, based on reality. Your GDP, how much goods and services are we going to be able to produce in this country, and how much foreign currency that's going to be able to get us, and how do we build a budget? I'm not an economist by trade, but these are basics that I know. So at the end of the day, the government as an institution itself is what has failed our people. Now you wonder why people don't even trust or believe in this COVID thingy, and they are questioning government, everything government is saying, because this lack of trust. They don't trust the government. They just don't trust their government. The government has a trust problem. And when people don't trust their government, a natural disaster could be coming, and people just don't trust anything that the government is telling them. This is the problem. In fact, the whole COVID fight is being complicated by that factor. People don't trust their government. Who do they trust? Well, in the end, they rather go to their imam who tells them, look, we leave everything in the hands of God. Allah takes care of everything. And they trust that more than they trust the government. This is the problem. So the government as an institution, one of its key jobs, and even leader has to do that, is to build trust. The people they have to trust the government. If they don't trust the government, that creates a whole lot of problems. And I mean massive amount of problems. Western countries, that's where they beat us. If you look at the United States and UK and all these countries, believe it or not, one of the things that they have is the trust and confidence of their people. That's why when they come out and say, hey, let's do this, everybody follows. Let's do that, everybody follows. Donald Trump has created a problem of trust for us in this country. That's why we are struggling with COVID. People don't trust the government anymore because he is the very first person who is supposed to build trust in government, going to those people and saying, don't trust what the government tells you. Our intelligence folks, let's trust. I believe what Russia is telling me, not what our intelligence gatherers are telling me. By the way, Dr. Fauci, don't believe what he's saying. It's nonsense. So he is literally undermining the trust and confidence that people are supposed to have in those institutions. Sound institutions. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention. These are credible institutions that people are supposed to trust. But people don't trust what they are saying, refusing to wear a mask, because the president himself is undermining the trust that people have in those institutions. So you see the problem. So trust is a key factor in this process. In our own case, because corruption is rife, our government doesn't behave, it doesn't set a good example, because I cannot stand here and tell Dave, well, guess what, son? I want you to behave A, B, and C way. And on the other hand, the next minute he sees me behaving totally opposite to that. He'll be saying, well, is that really honest? Is this really serious? I mean, just yesterday he told me stealing is bad, and here he is stealing here. Do you think he will trust anything I tell him tomorrow? He will not, and I don't blame him. So we have a trust problem in our country. People don't trust our government. They just don't. So because I've been here, people. Somebody was telling me with even this vice president's COVID-19 thing. Did you hear what actually happened? I said no. He said, well, they are trying to beg Western countries for money, so they decided vice president has to come out and say he is infected, so that they will give him money. I said okay, but what about the high numbers? He said that's all part of the plan. You see, now you see the numbers, the way they are increasing it, they want more money, so they are telling the world that they don't trust whatever the government is telling them. I'm sure so all of you hear these kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but anyway, it's a problem.
Thank you so much, Dad. I think we're going to try and wrap up in about 2 minutes. So I think, what's it called? Dr. Conteh, if you got some concluding remarks, please, and then we can go to Mr. Manja. I think it's quite late for him. It's quite late for him in Saudi anyway.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Banka Manneh. The Gambia's revenue collection is almost like the left wing, the center, and the right wing, meaning that the person who actually has to pay taxes saves 30%. The person who is collecting actually gets 30% in his
that's a good point. Yeah,
and then maybe no more than 30% actually goes to the government. So that is our problem. But again, like I said, with our output of only 0.1% of the total sub-Sahara's GDP, we need to have somebody in our government who should come out and tell us what will be the impact of the COVID, particularly when this was written authoritatively by folks around April 20th, saying that the output in sub-Sahara will go down by 3%, and saying that the poverty index in sub-Sahara will move from 40 to 60 million people. So in our country, we didn't have anyone to come and look at those things, but this thing came all around since April 2020. So another area is that, so if we had $1.8 billion in GDP for fiscal year 2019 without impact of COVID, now going into 2020, we had at least 6 months of this crazy stuff going on. What do you think is going to happen to our GDP? I'm predicting that we will lose at least the lowest, maybe 10% of our GDP. And then if that is the case, again, how are we going to be able to appropriate or replenish what we need to do in terms of meeting services in our country? So if we don't have the tax base in our country, if we have reduced tax collection, how will we be able to meet our needed services in the country? And again, that is a nightmare. But again, I can tell you, the report that I got, was that most of the money they got from Western countries, they were not entirely grant money. They were actually encumbered in debt. And as you all know, that this government is not taking corruption seriously, because Senegal now is the heaven for Gambian employees or executives or civil servant people who go out there to build these massive apartment complexes and other things. So again, my final thing is that even though we may be critical of this government, this is not the time for us to engage ourselves in politics, because people are dying. And if people are dying in our country, we all need to come together, irrespective of political beliefs. Whatever separation we have, let's set that temporary and come together to find solutions. And I think all the opposition leaders should try to reach out to the State House and see whether they can engage a meeting with the president to see what we can do. But again, with the rate of COVID in Banjo, I think the city should have a lockdown. I'm going to stop right there.
Thank you so much, Dr. Conteh. Mr. Manja, if you can give us some concluding remarks, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. One of the most ridiculous stories I have, commenting about lack of trust, about Dr. Aissatou Touré being positive, was that because the Eid Tobaski fall on Friday, and according to legends, if the president should go to the prayer ground, that means he will not be around.
Yeah, so that one is a Brikama story, I'm sure. I think that sounds very much like Brikama.
I'm not gonna sit here and you're trying to pass that blame on Brikama.
So, talking about casting politic aside, I think had it not been African president, in fact, they're so arrogant and so out of touch. Even when they are ill, they don't want anybody to know. To them, that's a weakness. You look at Barrow in that speech, he was like a hostage who was being forced to read a written statement. There was no emotion about him. He was like a ghost, somebody there, like in a hostage situation, and you are given by these notes to read to the public. It is terrible. So the guy, I know deep inside, he wants to reach out. He's seeking, he's calling for help. Somebody, please come, let's sit and talk. But people around him, we don't want people to see that weakness, because to them, that's the end of their party. So this is a situation we have. But what can we do? How can we get to this man and say, you know what, we don't have time for politics. Your nation is in a terrible state. People are dying. And talking about flattening the curve, That's our biggest challenge. Getting to the top of the curve, in fact, is Gambia's biggest challenge. And what we know with COVID, even if you flatten the curve, coming down is even more challenging. We've seen in England yesterday, they record their highest number since May. We've seen France, Marseille area is closed, and I think Paris. So basically what they are doing, they are doing regional lockdowns. This virus is not going anytime soon.
No.
And talking about our GDP and this, way I don't have an idea what they are all about. But people are going to get hungry. I can tell you, food is going to be problem from November towards December end. And Gambia, I believe, is going to struggle to even order. So these are challenges that are facing us, and the politicians are not doing it. I think the diaspora need to off their game and go, because that's why Barrow come, and he even said, "You want me to come and talk to you?" And before even come to talk to us, they even have to come and tell us, "Well, he talked to you on this occasion," which if you put them together is like 79 minutes in 1 year. So that guy owes a refund in his fat salary on his fat salary. So basically, what I'm telling, the government definitely dropped the ball, and there is lack of trust issue. We know that. I'm appealing, to the citizens. This is about life and death. Let's us all try not to be part of the statistic of this pandemic. What we can do, we stay at home as much as possible. If you don't have to go out, stay at home. But if you have to go out, please put on that face mask. And if you are in public, please keep a safe distance from the next man, 2 meters. And stop giving your hand to other people. You don't know. If I'm in Gambia, I will assume everybody is positive, including myself. And also, we should continue to wash. We say this now, it's probably boring now, but still, washing our hands regularly is as relevant as when this pandemic starts. When you're going to sneeze or you please cover your nose or your mouth with your closed elbow. That is good respiratory hygiene. If you're going to cough or sneeze in a paper towel, please dispose it responsibly. And immediately after every sneeze, or even if you use a tissue, please go and wash your hand. And let's for now adjourn our christening ceremonies, our weddings. You don't want you and your new bride to be part of the statistic. This is what I have to tell to the Gambians. And if you hear this, you are watching this, please share this video. And also, I challenge you to go and speak to 5 people about this message. And also challenge those 5 people to go and speak to another 5 people. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Manjang, my dad, and Dr. Conteh. I mean, obviously today the plan was to have an economist, a subject matter specialist, but just like the Gambia, so everything goes back to poor governance and lack of institutions. He couldn't even get a good connection. The connection was very poor, so he couldn't join us. Which is rather unfortunate. Some of us, none of us are economists. I mean, Dr. Conteh did well, coming from his background accounting. I think that was good enough anyway. And then some of the stuff we talk about is social commentary, and that's what we could do. Myself and my dad, obviously, Mr. Majan covered the medical side very well. What I definitely will say to the guys back home, especially Sankare. I think Sankare and maybe even Ebrima Suwaneh dad. I think you in contact with them. Tell them to come and join. Yeah,
I will try.
Yeah, I will try. And then I think they need to try and remind Barrow that great leadership is defined by trying to leverage, inspire. You need to inspire people. You need to motivate people and provide clarity in moments of like when he went to give the speech, it could be much better. There was no clarity. So I think it was very, very unfortunate. People, you need to have a genuine sense of mission and purpose, which we don't have. I'm trying to actually quote somebody. I don't know the whole word, but this is basically, a summary of what my understanding of what this guy is saying is some psychologist guy I was reading the other day. I think it's quite important. So he needs to leverage people. He just don't sit there. Just leverage people. Leverage the strength of other people. Don't have any fear about that. Leverage it, and establish good relationships. And then people around him. Don't look at people outside, whether outside of your government, your inner circle, or even outside of the country, just don't look at them as a threat. Look at them as people you can work with, for a common goal. I think that's quite important. I think that's my message to them anyway. People who got access to them, reach out to them, and obviously we want to invite them here. That's we just don't need to have a public conversation. Just try and stress this in trying to drill into the public consciousness back home that we are at a very perilous state. I mean, countries that normally will help us with funding, they are struggling. And UK right now is struggling with its finances. The economy is suffering. So you think they're going to give you money to the Gambia where the people are hungry? It's not going to happen already. We know we got a right-wing government in the UK, and I don't blame them. They trying to think of the people in their own. It's like, let's deal with our own people. Let's deal with our own problems for now. So all those funds they used to give out, it's going to be drastically reduced now. It's going to be drastically reduced. So we need to up our game. All right. Anyway, I was going to say thank you to everybody today. My dad, Mr. Manjang, Dr. Conteh, unfortunately, Dr. Gagigo couldn't join us, but I think all in all, I think we did pretty well.
Thank you.
Dave, can you announce our plans for next week and week after to the viewers?
Yes,
if possible.
Yes, next week we have Dr. Drame. He's going to be talking about policies, and let me get the exact wording. He said Drame Kundanko before he knows my dad anyway. Lamine Drame, he said, this guy in America. I told him, after you come here, my dad will send you a big pot of mono, big bowl of mono, and you'll be happy. So, but let me check that quickly. Yes. Dr. Drame is going to be talking about like education, leadership, and policy prescription in the age of COVID-19. That's his background. I think he's an academic. He also works at one of the universities in the US. So he'll be coming over, and then we're actually going to have another guy as well who's he's also an academic. He also going to be talking about education next week. So
on the 31st, that's Dr. Ismaila Cisse, and he will be talking about COVID-19 and its implication on democratic reforms. So we have a good lineup. We hope the internet also stays with Dr. Cisse as well, because he's also
Gagigo. Dr. Cisse as well. So that seems to be a problem for us. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Here are 5 ways you can help combat stigma and discrimination as we fight against coronavirus COVID-19. 1. Educate your friends and family that COVID-19 is not specific to any race, nationality, or skin color. 2. Do not associate migrants with the virus. In many contexts, migrants are healthy and key players in nation building. 3. Remind others that discrimination may lead people to hide their symptoms rather than seek treatment. This puts everyone else at risk. 4. Be kind, considerate, and helpful to others in these difficult times. 5. If you know anyone experiencing symptoms, encourage them to dial 1025 for free.